Going live. We're live.
Yay.
What's up, FaceTube?
Hey.
We're almost on time today for the first time ever.
So
1 minute behind.
We're gonna give. Did you make it public, by the way?
Yes.
All right, we're gonna give YouTube just a couple minutes to
Get on Facebook, too.
hop on, and we are apparently live on Facebook as well.
So Alexis, what are we doing today? What are we going to talk about?
Talking about carrying under the influence, so carrying while you're drinking. We have an officer that works here. His name's Homer. He's going to be talking to us about it today. Is that?
Yep. So when we talk about being under the influence, it could be alcohol,
Drugs.
could be drugs.
Yeah.
What's your preference?
Drugs.
Drugs, of course. Hey, that's.
Hey, I know what it is. Thanks. Appreciate that. All right.
I can't do it.
I know you can't. He can't focus at all. It drives me nuts. All right. So what are we going to talk about, Steve? Carrying under the influence.
Absolutely. Look and
And-
see what we want to find out what our viewers' opinion is. We're also gonna we do have an expert here who also is one of our employees, but he is a full-time.
I thought you were talking about Don.
We have an expert. We have an expert
in the topic.
drinker here, and then we have an expert as far as law enforcement goes. So we have a gentleman here that works full-time as a law enforcement officer, but also works here part-time, and so we're going to bring him in and see what he's dealt with.
So what about to get the questions going? Do you guys carry, or excuse me, do you guys, when you're drinking out at a bar or anything like that, do you carry?
All right,
Yes-
Don, you go
yes
first.
Yes or no?
Don?
If I go out to, to B-dubs or whatever, get some wings and have a couple beers, yeah, absolutely. I keep my gun on me.
All right, so some people are saying it's the law, no, and so in some states,
Some
that's
states
correct.
it's true. Indiana, there is no law.
And we'll
regarding
cover
that.
that when Homer gets in where we are.
By the way, if you don't already know, you're watching Top Guns out of Terre Haute, Indiana. So I personally choose not to drink. I don't drink because I always carry. What about you?
I'm going to tell you, it's a rare occasion that I ever drink, especially anymore. I would say if I'm going out to Fridays or something along those lines and I'm going to have one drink, I don't think it's going to be a possibility that I'm going to take my gun off to do so. So I'm kind of on the border. I don't drink enough to be able to say I'm going to take it off.
What about you? If you were going to be carrying a gun and you were drinking, would you secure your firearm first, or would you carry and
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't carry it.
do not carry it?
Probably not.
So
All right.
you want to bring Homer in, see if
Yep.
we have some other topics?
Look at Homer.
Says I'm from Sullivan, Indiana. We don't have a carrying drinking law. All right, so here we have Homer. Homer, you are a full-time police officer.
I am.
All right, and so tell us a little bit about not your opinion, but what you believe to be the law as we understand it. Can someone have had a drink and can they carry their gun in Indiana? And let's preface this. He's not an attorney, so we're not saying this is in Indiana. So this is not set in stone. We're just saying this is his understanding.
Obviously, one of the greatest rights we have is to be able to carry a firearm. Under the Second Amendment, you have that right to carry that. Obviously, as long as you're within the parameters to carry, obviously with permit. When you add in carrying under the influence, obviously, if you're okay to be driving, you can carry. However, if you choose to be out consuming alcoholic beverages or under the influence of anything else, legal as far as alcohol, prescription meds, anything like that, it is such a liability, one, to carry, two, to be under the influence. You have to be able to make a split second decision that if you have to use that, is your brain going to be able to function or use fine motor skills, when under the influence? So as long as you're legal within that perimeter to drive, obviously you can be within that perimeter to carry.
So if I was, hold on real quick, if I was going to carry and I was drinking and I had to use my firearm, is that potentially something that they would hold against me in court that said, hey, or anything, that would say, hey, I used it and now is there something negative towards it? Like, could they get me for also being kind of under the influence, even though I wasn't over the legal limit?
Right.
It would be similar.
Right. It would be like, for one, it's legal to drink. It's legal to take your prescription pills within a certain amount, if you're as advised by your doctor. If you're not committing a crime such as public intox or driving, like an OVWI, then yes, you have that right to carry and to, in a bad situation, use it. So if you used it and you were found to be under the influence, as long as it's not to where it would be a public intox, then you're getting into, you may not be in trouble now, but it could be a lawyer later.
So the big thing here is not just. By the way, we'll get back to the Hawaii comment here in a second. The big thing is not just is it legal, but let's think about it. It's civilly we have a concern here.
Yes.
So I may be completely legal and justified, but am I now getting sued civilly, which you may get sued civilly regardless, but you might even be more apt to be found negligent because you were under the influence, and a jury says, well, or a judge finds that you were not necessarily in the right frame of mind, you weren't making the right decisions, and so I would think that we also have to be concerned. I mean, civilly, that could certainly take away a lot of your freedom as well if you're losing all your money as a result of making a poor decision.
Absolutely.
So let's talk to Don, for instance. Don,
I don't like
all right, here's how I'm going to say this. Don's a little different than us in most ways, let's say, and his opinions are not necessarily the opinions of Top Guns Inc., right?
For sure. Not the opinions of Top Guns.
All right, so I know Don. Don goes out for a couple beers or whatever. I know this guy is not taking his firearm off. So Don, tell us why you don't.
Because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I'm not going to get to the point where I'm falling down, stupid, drunk, and I can't function. I don't have any motor skills. I'm pissing down my pants or whatever. But I mean, there's those people that go out to the bars. There's people that do a bunch of dumb stuff. I mean, how many times have you seen? When you see most fights at a bar, if somebody's going to pull a knife or a gun or a baseball bat, and you get jumped outside of a club. It's always at a bar or a club, and it's always late at night. So I'm not going to put myself in that position. Even if I go in, I just go in and grab me a dozen wings, and I have 2 or 3 beers while I'm there. That doesn't mean I'm intoxicated.
2 or 3 beers, right, Steve?
2 or 3 beers.
It doesn't mean that
After, let's say, 2 or 3, he's not quite able to count as well, so we'll just leave it at that.
2 or 3 beers.
Yeah.
didn't specify size. But that's one of those things. I'm not going to put myself in the situation where I could be at a great disadvantage to somebody that has a weapon, or 2 or 3 guys just because I got some drunk idiots out there.
I'm of the mentality, just don't drink, and then you don't have to worry about it. Now, somebody mentioned from Hawaii a second ago that in Hawaii, if you are on medical marijuana or otherwise, they are now telling them to turn in their firearms.
Turn in? What do you mean by turn in?
Well, I don't know. If you're the guy from Hawaii, if you're still on here, tell us exactly, if you would type in and let us know what it is they're saying on there as far as the law in Hawaii. But he typed and sent a message in just a second ago saying that in Hawaii, they are asking them if they're on medical marijuana in Hawaii, they're asking them to turn their firearms in.
All right, so Homer, if I get pulled over, all right, this is just kind of a different type of subject here. It's kind of the same. Do I have to tell you here in the state of Indiana that I am carrying a firearm on my side?
You do not. There is no state statute that says you have to tell us on a traffic stop that you're carrying. However, whenever I'm on a traffic stop and somebody tells me they're carrying a firearm, I'm always quick to tell them that's great if they have a permit. That's great that they practice that right. I encourage it, that it's great. But no, you do not have to tell me.
Now I've got another second to that, and I get this from customers a lot. And we did do a YouTube video here a while back, a series with the sheriff of our particular county. So if you want to watch that, there's a lot of information in there. But I know it's individual officer here. So you pull me over for speeding. You ask me if I have a gun. I say, yeah. I know there are some officers who like to secure that weapon. It all comes down to officer safety, and I completely get that. What if, at that point, do I have to surrender my weapon if I have done anything that is related to a firearm. It's a speeding. It doesn't have anything to do with the gun. Anything else.
Right. Well, it's the personal preference of the officer. If it's just a simple infraction stop that I come up and I'm talking to you, I ask you, do you have a firearm? And you say yes. It's going to be the personal preference of that.
Go ahead, keep
of
going.
that-
Keep
of
going,
that-
I'm sorry, I read something.
Yeah, I was reading. It's going to be the preference of that officer, whether to pull you out. It's all for officer safety. They're not doing it to be malicious to.
Sure. Well, I mean,
you know,
my thing is, if I say no, I don't want to give up my gun. This doesn't have any type of gun charge, whatever.
right.
Am I committing a crime at that point?
No, you're not committing a crime.
If I say no, I'm not giving you my gun.
It would be the same thing as if we're still just talking about a traffic
Yeah.
speeding
Simple
ticket.
traffic infraction.
If I ask you to get out of the car and you say no, flags are going to start getting thrown up, and I'm
Sure.
going to say, okay, well, what's he hiding? So, you know,
So here's a concern, all right, and it's
And
touchy, and then we also want to go back to this Hawaii thing because they've now posted, a few different guys from Hawaii have posted that in Hawaii they sent out letters to all gun owners stating that they have 30 days to turn in their firearms. Yet another reason why registration's not a great idea. But we'll get back to that in a second. If I'm in a vehicle, I get pulled over, and there's nobody that's probably more pro law enforcement than myself. But at the same time, I've also been I don't want to use the word victim, but I have also had a firearm unsafely handled around me by a law enforcement officer who pointed a loaded firearm at me on multiple times with the finger on the trigger unintentionally. And so I can also see where some people might say, look, the safest place is to leave it in my holster. I don't think we need to take it out.
right.
But at the same time, if I'm in your shoes, I'm going to be a little apprehensive when this guy doesn't want to give me his firearm. Immediately I'm going to be thinking, well, why doesn't he want to give me his handgun? Because
Right.
in essence, you should be one of the safer people.
Right.
But not everybody's like you. Not all law enforcement officers are like you and are trained in firearms.
If you had 10 different officers up here, there's a chance that they'll all do it 10 different ways. Not that one way is a wrong way. If I'm encouraging you that it's great that you carry, then the last thing I want to do is be liable for if I ask you to step out of the car and you pull it out and we have an accidental discharge, whether it's the guy carrying or if I accidentally did it. Obviously, you're asking for issues to, one, have them get out of the car, two, ask them to pull it out. I always just have them stay seated. As long as they legally have it and they're possessing it, then I usually don't have them step out or pull the gun out. I usually just ask them, where's it at? And you can, if you're doing this, obviously people are nervous when they get pulled over, so they're a little scared. And the last thing I want to do is ask them to pull it out. So I may crack little jokes like, hey, you don't pull yours out, I won't pull mine out. So to lighten the mood a little bit. So I mean, it's just, I can't say there's a wrong way or a right way.
All right, so we're going to talk about a couple different things. I know that people keep bringing up something, and I'm unaware of it, and maybe because I'm an Indian, I don't know, but Hawaii, there's some sort of confiscation if you're a medical marijuana user.
They're saying you have to. They're saying that you have to register your firearm with the local chief or whatever it was.
We're getting off subject, but this is interesting.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to give you 30 days to turn in your firearms, which constitutionally, I don't see how they can even do that.
Well, because federally it's still illegal to.
It's still an illegal drug. Yeah.
Although,
As far as
but if it's
purchasing,
prescribed,
yeah,
it's
it's
prescribed. Medical, I don't know how they could do that.
Yeah, and
But I think it's still federally illegal.
It's federally illegal to take the majority of the drugs that we take that are prescribed anyway. You can't take any of those drugs.
I must be unaware of this.
yeah,
So,
and I don't
Can
know
you elaborate
I don't know how
a
they
little bit?
could
We
make.
don't know.
I don't know how they could
So
force you to confiscate the firearms.
painkillers. You know, what's the
Oxycontin or something.
yeah, okay, you can't legally go take that without a prescription. But just because you're prescribed it and you're on it doesn't mean you have to turn your guns in. So if marijuana is medically prescribed in Hawaii, I can understand if they said, hey, in Hawaii we now, like Colorado, and I don't know what Hawaii is, but in Colorado where it's just legal to use, I could understand if they said, hey, all users, recreational users, I don't agree with it, but I could understand if they said it's still federally against the law, so therefore you can't legally possess a firearm, turn in your firearms regardless as to what your state says. But as far as medical marijuana goes, I don't know how, if it's prescribed, how they can possibly say turn in your firearms. I don't get that.
Did they say who it is that's making them turn in? Is it the federal government or is it local?
Okay.
Is
Okay,
it
so
local
it's-
agency?
I think it's
So the
Hawaii.
feds that guy just said the feds don't recognize it as an actual medical, like they do in opium.
Oh, this is a great question for you. If you just purchased a firearm, a brand new one from a shop, you do not have a carry permit yet. How would you handle that?
Okay, and this.
You have the right to transport. Even they just made new law a couple years ago that even before that, if you bought a brand new gun and you don't have a carry permit, obviously people do that every day. As long as you have that receipt in the box without ammo, you can transport that. They just changed that law, or it had an enhancement on it just a couple years ago now, to where it's not even a matter of buying a brand new gun. Because the old law said if you're taking it to a gunsmith that haven't worked on, if it's brand new and you bought it, as long as you have a receipt, you can transport back and forth. Now there's law that you can transport a firearm as long as you're not a violent felon or a felon. You can transport as long as it doesn't have ammo with it. So ammo's got to be separate. It's got to be empty.
Not have ammo in the vehicle at all?
I believe it's in a separate compartment, but as long as the firearm is empty, you can transport.
Can I have it in the seat beside me?
Yes, as long as it's
Does it have to be in a case?
So when he said, "Can I have it in the seat next to me?"
Right.
He's referring to the ammo. For those of you that are watching, he's referring to, can he have the ammo in the seat next to him if the firearm is in the rear in
Let's
a container?
reverse it. Can I have the firearm next to me if the ammo's in the back?
Yeah, yes, it doesn't have to be concealed. I heard some discussion here a while back that
We are in
On-
Indiana,
on
so
that-
this is
yeah.
he is an Indiana officer.
on that law, they said, well, we can transport it unloaded, but it's got to be concealed. That's not true. You can just transport it. It can be sitting on the seat right in front of you. And obviously, we're going back to the first topic that if I pull you over and I walk up and I see a handgun resting in the front seat, I'm probably going to ask you to step out of the vehicle just because I want to separate you away from that gun. But yes, you can transport an unloaded firearms now by state law.
All right, so just a disclaimer here. As a shop, we have not personally researched that law, so this is news to us. My understanding was it had to be in a container in the rear of the vehicle. You're saying
Not
you're
easily accessible.
Not
The way I
easily
look at it.
accessible. You're saying to the best of your understanding that has changed.
I don't have that case law in front of me right here, but I don't recall whether it
All right.
says you can transport it unloaded, separate from ammo.
All right.
So we'd have to do
Maybe
some.
one of our video guys can
well-
find that and post that here in the
Yeah.
comments.
So before you take that as gospel, we will find out for sure, just to make sure, and because we want to make sure we're not giving out any misinformation. My understanding, most states have some means of legally being able to transport a firearm through the state, unloaded in a container. Some states say it has to be a locked container. Some states say it has to be unloaded in a locked container. Some states say ammo and gun have to be stored separately. So check with each local state and perhaps even local jurisdictions to see what their laws are.
So on Facebook, I just want you to know I had Brian here. He said in Florida, he believes that you have to turn in, you have to turn in your permit, your handgun permit, if you are a medical marijuana user. Wow. In the state of Florida. Guys, we don't know this stuff. So if you want to post that so other people learn, please let us know.
Yeah, there's no medicinal marijuana here in Indiana. It's just illegal. So,
What we have there.
period.
I didn't see what that
It
said.
did say unloaded in a secured case.
So here, give it to Steve. Steve will read it. That's from Doug.
All right, so Indiana prohibits carrying of any handgun in your vehicle without a license to carry a handgun unless the vehicle is owned, leased, rented, or otherwise legally controlled by the person and the handgun, is unloaded, not readily accessible, and secured in a case. And that was my understanding as well. However, I don't know if there's anything that maybe that's changed more recently. It's possible, but my understanding was that it had to be unloaded in not easily accessible. And I often get people who are in a pickup truck say, "Well, what do? I don't have a trunk." I
Behind
guess
the
it's
seat is not easily accessible. You still have to get out and push your seat forward.
So that was as of November 17th. He said that was the updated version. So let's review that one more time, just because I didn't even get to hear it all.
all right. So
one more time,
for the
explain
state
this.
of Indiana, if you're wanting to transport a firearm legally
Without a permit.
then the way, to our understanding, the way to do that is unloaded, not easily accessible, and in a container of some sort. So hopefully that helps for
All right,
those of you
guys.
that are traveling through the
We have
state.
about 10 minutes. I just want everybody to know. Let's get back on the topic that we started with so we can finish with. All right. If you are out in public, is it a good thing to carry your firearm with you if you have been drinking?
Or are going out to drink. I mean, you take it if you know you're heading out to the bar to go out partying that night. You take your gun, and if so, and you know you're gonna be drinking, why?
I mean, do we think that that is unsafe to do, or do we think that, you know what, you're a grown-ass adult, you can take care of yourself?
I think it depends on the person. I mean, everybody reacts differently with alcohol. I mean,
Yeah.
some people get, they get drunk and they got to go fight somebody. Other people are just mellow and laid back, just like hanging out, laughing, having a good time. So I think a lot of that depends on the personality of the person too.
Somebody even also just asked, what if you're drinking at home and someone breaks in and you have to use your firearm as a...
That's a great question.
Yeah, because obviously you're not out looking for trouble. You've done nothing to put yourself. You've gone out of your way to stay at home and drink where you shouldn't have. I think a jury, from a civil perspective, I would think a jury is going to be more lenient there because you're in your home. Someone broke in. You were drinking where you thought you were in a controlled environment. I think they're going to be a little more lenient in that instance than they would be if you went out and you were drinking in a bar.
But we don't know that.
We don't know that. I don't know. It's up to the jury.
Real quick, I want to hear our actual viewers on both sides here on Facebook and YouTube. I want you to actually write on there. Is it okay to carry? Yes or no? If you are going to drink that night.
Yes, I do, or no, I don't.
Yeah, just
That's
a
all I want
yes
to see.
or
Yes
no.
or no.
Yes
We'll
or no.
We'll tally it up. Go ahead, Homer. You were going to say something.
If you were talking about
As many as they want, Corey.
consuming alcohol at home, I would say
Man, almost.
That's a lot of no's.
obviously the first responding officer is going to go there, is going to investigate it. So, or if a detective gets called in, but if you were so drunk that we can't understand you, obviously that's going to throw a flag. It's going to be concerned. It would depend on your state. Yes, you have the right to be at home and drunk off your ass, but if we responded and we got a dead body and a drunk guy, it's obviously going to be hard for us to make sense of what's going on. That's all going to be in our report. So I would say,
So,
if there's no criminal
Recap
charges,
that a little louder. I had someone here say they can't hear you that well. So you're saying if you're at home, it's going to kind of be hard to decipher on what's going on. What were you saying?
I mean, if you were completely drunk off your ass when you shot somebody, and I'm the responding officer, and I show up and we've got a dead body and we've got a person drunk off their ass, it's going to be hard for us to investigate, and obviously a lot of flags are getting thrown up because we can't make sense of what's going on. So if, say, there's no criminal charges that gets done to the guy that did the shooting, obviously you're opening yourself up for a lot of civil liability later down the road, because you always get people that say, it's my castle, I have a right to be drunk in it, I can do whatever I want, I can have a gun, but you're just opening yourself up for a lot of civil liability, if not criminal,
I mean, this is going to open up a pretty large can of worms because we don't know the answer. I just want everybody to know that.
And as a store, let's make it clear that there's a difference between us saying whether we would or wouldn't carry under the influence and whether we believe it's legal or not legal.
Separate subjects.
Two completely separate.
It is absolutely your right to do whatever the hell you want to do.
But
I'm sorry, it is.
But it doesn't make
make it right or wrong.
Doesn't make it a good choice or a logical choice.
Well, it's the same thing with open versus concealed carry, which we talked about. Just because you can legally carry your firearm out in the open in Indiana anyway, doesn't mean it's a good idea to do it.
All right, guys, we're coming up on the last 5 minutes of the live. This is kind of the time where we see all the questions, try to answer them. So for this last 5 minutes, please get your questions in, and we'll try to answer as many as we can in the last 5 minutes.
They don't even have to be about this subject. If you got a question about something else, feel free to post it. If If you want to know what color underwear Don wears, just ask.
Basil, if you see
He
someone on
doesn't wear
YouTube,
underwear.
please speak up and let us know. I see a lot of people saying if you are under the legal limit, then they feel like they absolutely should be able to carry. Okay, and that's your opinion.
How do you
And-
carry your spare magazine? Anybody? Go.
Left side.
Go.
Same left side.
Right side. I'm left-handed.
Offhand as well. For
By the
me.
way, you know what he carries, right? 1911.
No, not today.
Yeah.
I got the
Usually
sh-
it's a
I got the
1911.
shield
I
on
swear
today.
everybody knows
Favorite
that.
caliber for duty use? Somebody just asked.
45 is the most popular among.
Vortex, Leupold, or Nikon? I like Leupold.
May I tell you what? Loophole, we've been doing some videos on them lately. They are impressive.
We sell
also,
more Vortex. I like Leupold.
Also, check out the video we did because we're giving a Loophole away for free. It is a brand new one, I believe, right?
Yep. I
Brand new
believe
one,
that's
not
what's
the,
going to happen.
not the beat up one. Basil, give us some questions. I see a ton of them coming in.
Yep. Okay.
How do you guys
Corey,
keep
you
those
shouldn't have
awesome
to do it all
beards?
again. If you're from Indiana, it's called the Indiana State Police Firearms Division. They'll be able to direct you to somebody.
How do you guys keep those awesome beards? We're lazy. All right, next.
Somebody said that?
Yeah. Does Don still identify as a man?
Occasionally, yeah. Yeah. Just depends on how my morning starts.
He's been working on the change.
Yeah. Are you hiring? Yes, we still
Yep.
hire. Come on.
You got it.
So I would say, and
Here,
in
give it to
particular, we're always looking for more techie guys.
What's that
like
say?
this guy. Basil.
9mm, great pistol.
Guys like this guy right here, and the guy that you can't see, Doug, is in back.
Typing the whole time.
We always need more guys to do their type stuff, which is editing videos and troubleshooting and being smarter than what we are.
Creative,
Standing behind the phones.
creative filming.
Someone was asking about carry permits in the state of Indiana. We do have a lifetime permit.
Thoughts on Gen
and we-
5 Glock? I think they meant Gen
Hold on.
5.
We have a 4-year permit, I believe, right? And
4-year
we have
permit
a
for
lifetime
65,
permit.
lifetime permit
It doesn't
for
make
30.
sense why you wouldn't get a lifetime permit in the state of Indiana. I just want everybody to know that. Vetter holster. Okay.
Shop editing.
I've heard of them. I've actually had them send it in. We are going to do a video on those guys pretty soon, I hope.
Yes, you can carry.
Can I get a green card? Card.
He said he wanted.
Can you carry a rifle in your car in Indiana? You
Yes,
know
you
what?
can.
Great question.
Wait. You remember this, right?
I remember.
I do.
This is a surprise.
This is going to
to
blow
everybody.
your mind.
This is going to be the most important thing that we say today.
And we might even educate Homer today. So, according to ATF, you cannot legally carry a rifle in your vehicle.
We have researched this and got confirmation that this is in fact right.
100%.
Now, my understanding has always been, and I'll tell you right now, I've carried a rifle in my vehicle, loaded. My understanding has always been you do not need, by Indiana law, you do not need any special permitting. You can carry a rifle in your vehicle loaded, and we have an officer sitting here that agrees with that, right?
As long as it's over a 16-inch barrel.
Right, as long as it meets all the other legal
Right.
parameters. All right. So as long as it's legally owned and you're legal and
18 years
it's a
of
legal
age, at
firearm and all that
least 18.
bullshit. All right. So having said that, ATF came to me at one point and said, no, you can't do that because federally you're not allowed. And I can't remember. Do you remember what it was? Why we weren't allowed to do it?
No, this was.
It's been over. Yeah.
Yeah, a year and a half, 2 years ago. They told us this, but.
So
I don't remember exactly
You know what?
why they- yeah.
We'll make a video on this because I'll call ATF back and ask him about that.
And we'll probably try to get where it says it in the book. If
But
no
they're-
one's ever seen an ATF book.
So it is.
I mean, now having said that, I don't think a local officer could or state officer could enforce that.
And that was the second part of that because I actually talked to some friends of mine, and it's a federal law, and they cannot affect arrest based on federal law. You have to have a federal officer do it. And then the second part of that is a federal officer can't pull you over unless they have a warrant to do so. So that can never technically be enforced. However, it is still a federal law. And one of the dumbest laws there's a lot of dumbass laws out there.
We'll find that law and we'll make a video. We might cover it next week's. If we can
You know
find it
what?
by next week, we'll cover it next
We'll
week.
try to do that. So, guys, we appreciate
Diamondback's
you.
decent.
Diamondback's great. We appreciate you guys logging in today. If you have a lot of questions, please don't hesitate after we post it up to comment, especially on Facebook. We'll try to cover those again next week. It sounds like we have a pretty good topic. Can you carry a rifle
legally
in your vehicle. So we appreciate you guys stopping by today. We'll see you next Thursday at 1 o'clock.
And for those of you that think you know the answer, you might not know the answer.
Bye-bye.
See y'all.
Thanks, guys.